Hey there, YouTube. SkepticalRoot. Fake news. I'm pissed off. I gotta tell you, and what I'm pissed off about is not fake news itself. It is about how fake news has become a buzzword that doesn't mean what it means anymore. What do I mean by that? Of course, you have that question, and I have an answer. And the answer is, let me show you. So this all started back in December, I want to say. I saw an article on Yahoo Finance talking about the jobs report is a perfect example of fake news. Now, I had seen reports of fake news, and I had seen articles about it and things, and how Facebook was going to handle fake news, and how Twitter was a major contributor to the fake news epidemic. Fake news has always been around. People just haven't been, broadly speaking, so gullible to fall for it. But I want to first talk about what is and what is not fake news. Fake news is stuff that is untrue and made up out of whole cloth. Fake news is not spin. Fake news is not selective interpretation of facts. Fake news is not a story with an ideological bias. Fake news is legitimate. This could be on The Onion because I think it's parody. Made up shit. Fake news is not, I see things a certain way and I'm going to sell it that way. That's not fake news. Let me give an example of some fake news. This story over here, the jobs report, is a perfect example of fake news. On Friday, we learned the U.S. economy added 178,000 jobs in November. The unemployment rate fell to 4.6%, while over 95 million Americans were not in the labor force. Blah, 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 blah. It's basically an article arguing the difference between the U3 and the U6 standard for determining level of unemployment. Here's why this is not fake news. And an example of some gray area that might be fake, probably fake news. I'll relate from this author, Miles Unland, who is a Yahoo Finance reporter. The U3 number for unemployment, which includes people between the ages of 16 and 70 who are actively looking for work or are employed and are not currently on disability or some such thing, be out of the workforce. That number is at 4.6%. The U6 includes additional criteria, which basically means everybody between the ages of 16 and 70 in this country. That includes retirees, it includes college students, it includes people not looking for work, people who are underemployed, not just unemployed. And that's a much larger number. People are living longer. Just in the number of retirees in this country who are still included in the U6 number for unemployment, and people who are still in high school and don't need to have a job but are old enough to work, those are included in the unemployment numbers. People who are in college and whatnot, or doing unpaid internships, all of those people are all included in the number. Now, it also includes people who have become disenfranchised with looking for work because they've been out of work too long, or they just have given up looking for a job for right now. Those people are also included in the U3 number because they're not included in the U3 number because they're not looking for work. But this person says that, 40.3% unemployment rate, it's the highest it's ever been. It's not fake news. That's spin. But the U3 number is the number that we've used all the time. When we talk about unemployment rate in this country, we use the U3 value for unemployment. From the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics report, That's the number we use. We don't use the U6 because the U6 includes a lot of people who just don't want a job, or who are too old, or whatever. People who were toll booth workers for 40 years and have retired at the age of 58 are included in that number. They're retired. A guy across the street from me used to be a police officer. He was a police officer for 33 years, 35 years, something like that. He's retired. He's only 60 something. He's part of that U6 number, not part of the U3 number. He's got a full pension from the town he used to live in, and he's doing other stuff, but he's not looking for work. He's fully retired, but he's a U6 member, not a U3 number. The U3 number, again, I'm rambling about the U3 and U6 number, but that's not an example of fake news. Fake news is things you'd expect to see on The Onion because no part of it is true, or it is entirely based on some fictitious interpretation of, what could or may not be actually real. Another example of fake news would be this over here. Gary Lefebvre's page. My dad had sent me this article the other day. Let me find the specific one that he sent me, then I'll explain to you why it's fake news as opposed to just a spin. The most amazing part of this well-written piece is the fact that Maureen Dowd, a very liberal columnist in the New York Times, wrote it. Maureen Dowd, election therapy for my basket of deplorables. And you can see here, it's talking about the election was a complete repudiation of Barack Obama, his fantasy world of political correctness, blah, 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 blah. There is, of course, a problem with this, and that is that it did actually occur in an article from Maureen Dowd. However, it's actually, the part we're talking about here is penned by her brother. Talking about Trump supporters. Maureen Dowd supposed to have had to deal with the president-elect scolding during the interview in the New York Times, blah, blah, blah. This is all Maureen Dowd. And then she talks about her brother, and what has been snipped here is basically her brother's letter put into over here on this guy's website and says, oh, look at this great piece penned by Maureen Dowd. It was published by Maureen Dowd. It was not written by Maureen. It is clearly not her take on Trump and Trump's election. I don't think that Maureen Dowd thinks that Barack Obama needs to be repudiated at all. Maureen Dowd has always been a very vocal supporter of the administration and of liberals in general. It's because it's not about that. It is about her brother's article. This is fake news. This skirts the line only in that it completely misrepresents something that it was actually published. Completely misrepresents. It doesn't just make it up. Pizzagate is an example of fake news, where somebody took things that were posted in the Podesta emails released through WikiLeaks, invented a code for child molestation, and this story that Rocket Pizza, I want to say, that there were children being sold into sexual bondage or kidnapped and held against their will for sex slaves, was an example of completely made up stuff. They took some seed of something, which was talking about pizza in the Podesta emails, they invented a code, made up this whole story, and some guy shows up at the pizzeria with a gun and fires it in the restaurant. Didn't intend to do that, of course, but he drove 5 hours to the restaurant based on this fake news story, based on something that was in no way true. Yes, this pizza place existed. Yes, Podesta did talk about eating pizza there. But no, there was no child sex slavery going on. That was fake news. The guy still, even after he'd been arrested, was like, "Oh, I still think it needs investigated." What needs investigated? That somebody lied to you and you believed it because you didn't fit your ideological narrative? That's where fake news comes in here. Fake news is geared towards a left or right ideology. It is angled towards someone in particular and how they think and what they think. It's not, which is why the far left and the far right media websites are often accused of posting fake news. Breitbart, for example. Now, I'll be honest with you, Breitbart has some very slanted pieces in there. But that doesn't mean that it's made up. Saying something like, Trump is going to do a reality show in office called Celebrity POTUS, and he's going to give away cabinet positions based on a reality TV show. That's fake news. Yes, Trump did say that he wants to executive produce a revival of some Apprentice-like show. Possibly, maybe. But he's not running his own fake reality show from the White House. That's fake news. Hillary Clinton being a reptoid may or may not be true. But no, that's fake news. Hillary Clinton's email server hack is fake news. Do you understand me, conservatives who might be watching? There's no evidence that Hillary Clinton's email server was ever hacked. All the emails released so far have been from other people's email systems being hacked. The Podesta emails are because Podesta's email got hacked, not Hillary Clinton's email. But you'll hear about Hillary Clinton's email hack because everyone is saying, oh, her server probably got hacked. There's no evidence her server ever got hacked, and there's all these emails that are coming out, but they're not coming out from Hillary. One of the reasons why Huma Abedin's email was subpoenaed in the Anthony Weiner thing by the FBI was because she sent a lot of information back and forth to Hillary Clinton, obviously, and they wanted to go through and see if there's anything in her email that was redundant because the police had seized it in the Anthony Weiner investigation for, I don't remember, he was sending texts to 15-year-old. I don't remember if that's what that was. I don't remember them. I don't keep up on the Anthony Weiner thing anymore. I didn't keep up with it before. I don't care. If he did something illegal, arrest him, throw him in jail. If he didn't, then leave him alone. He's got enough problems, if you will. My point is that Breitbart gets lumped in with the fake news thing because they're geared towards the ideology, the right-wing ideology. By that same token, when CNN reports that Adam Saleh has, been kicked off a flight for speaking Arabic, that's his take on it. He actually did get kicked off a Delta flight. It was reported as the only person making a statement at the time. Here's an article over here on Forbes talking about Adam Saleh getting kicked off the plane. CNN reporting that he gets kicked off the plane because he was speaking Arabic is because that was the only information available. What actually happened was he got kicked off of a plane. The reason isn't necessarily correct, but that was corrected in later statements. When Delta came out and made their position clear on why he was kicked out, when they interviewed passengers in the aftermath, reporting that, he was being loud and obnoxious and seeming to be attempting to cause a ruckus, if you will. That was the reason he got kicked off. The basic fact that he got kicked off a plane and Delta issued a statement about him making passengers uncomfortable, all that was true. That's not fake news. They come back, they got something wrong, they made a correction later because they had more information then. Again, not fake news. Stop calling stuff like that fake news, people. And yes, people have jumped to his defense before more information was available. But that's going to happen. Nothing you can do about that. Having said that, though, still not fake news. I'll include some links in the description talking about fake news, what is fake news, history of fake news, the type of stuff that has come up and what they consider fake news. Another example of fake news would be back in May, the story that came out in Newsweek about prison guards flushing copies of the Quran at Guantanamo Bay, which just wasn't true. There are times when people exaggerate, they do things, they go too far. The Rolling Stone rape case story was fake news. It wasn't investigated. It wasn't shown in any part of it to be true. It was basically somebody told a story to a reporter, and the Rolling Stone reporter ran with it. I mean, that was it. It was fake news because somebody made it up just to get it published. And that's wrong. That's fake. Fake news. Saying that, let me give an example here that's not partisan or ridiculous. Comet pizza, not rocket pizza. Sorry. An example of what could be considered fake news. Also by Miles Unland, Yahoo Finance reporter, as I mentioned earlier. This story here where he talks about how Donald Trump has U.S. consumer confidence near a 13-year high. And we look at his numbers here. Talking to a UMich survey, high since 2004. However, his index of consumer sentiment chart that he shows here, first off, only goes back to 2006, and has twice been as high as what it's higher than now in the last couple of years. So the last 10 years, I don't see how he can say that. The information that he provides in this particular article doesn't support what he's saying. Looking at one of his sources here, it doesn't show index of consumer sentiment 90.2%, up from 93.8 in November, plus 4.7%. That's month over month. Year to year change is 6%. This does say level of sentiment index since January 2004. Where's their source for that? Tables. Look at their tables. Index of consumer sentiment. PDF. Let's look at that. That doesn't support what they're saying. Yearly. Go to PDF. So it renders properly. So 2004 is 95.2, and 2016 is 91.9. 2015 92.9. I don't see those. I don't see the 98 number that he's throwing out there. Oh, look, in the 97, 98, 99, they're over 100, 2000, 107. Not seeing that there either. Okay, let's go back. Let's look at charts. Index last 10 years, last 50 years. There we go. Maybe this will make it clearer. 2004. That's right there. You see that on that chart there? Yeah. And here's 2015, pretty good. 2016, that doesn't look high enough. What else could I need to look at? It's the index of consumer sentiment, right? That's what that said. Charts maybe. No, do charts? Yeah, we did charts. Reports. Yeah, I don't see anything in there that's going to tell me that. I'd call this fake news. Gee, what a surprise. Now, if this guy, who's going to claim that it's all about Donald Trump, could show me how they came to that number, which I don't see them doing anywhere in here yet. Okay, maybe. But what I see now is just, I see a claim and no support. I would call this fake news. Because when I go and look at his sources listed in the article, and yes, they did make this statement here, with the surge in confidence following Trump's surprise election ended in mid-December, it nonetheless led to the highest level of sentiment index since January 2004. But it's not supported by the data that they have on their particular chart here. I mean, they don't have a chart, they don't have a table, they don't have it's not in the report. They indicate that the number is 98.2%. They don't tell me how they got that, though. I see this little stub here, and that's monthly. That's not annual. That's not yearly. I can show you years in their own charts that have been higher. Because what they're saying is it's 98.2 for December. But what does that mean? That's only the people's attitudes about it. That's not even people's. That's not the actual current economic conditions, but their attitude about it, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. People's attitudes have a lot to do with the strength of the economy. But how does this tie to Trump's win? Is there something in here? Real income down. That's doesn't seem like it would necessarily. Like in this survey of consumers, University of Michigan doesn't show me anything in here about how to find where they came up with that information. Where they build that number off of. And if it's just a survey of consumers, that could be sampling error for all I know. I guess that's it. That's me going on way too long. Bottom line here, fake news is news that is not based on real actions or events. Spin can be something that has actually happened, but just isn't directly. Someone takes an event and takes a good example. Okay, you know what? We'll use this last one. We won't call this last one fake news. We'll call this one spin. Because he's saying, here's this thing, according to this, the consumer sentiment is at the highest it's ever been, even though I can't find any information from the actual source that supports that. But they go and say it's all about Donald Trump. And that may very well be. There may be survey answers or something like that in here that says, this is why this is like that. But it doesn't. This could just be spin. It's Trump because they said it's Trump. But I don't know if that's the case. I could take them at their word and say, hey, that is. But I don't know. There's no supporting evidence for it, for that part. But if indeed, based on their results, the consumer sentiment is that high, not fake news. Sorry. Don't call it that, because that's not what it is. When we look at motivations and causes, that's typically where spin comes in. That's where ideological narratives take over. When you make stuff up and say that this is what happened because it must have. Because some girl, reports that some guys pulled off her job and shoved her down and said, Trump 2016 or something like that. That's not fake news. She reported that. What she reported was a lie, apparently. But it's not fake that she reported it. It's not fake that she claimed it happened. Don't call that fake news. You're an idiot if you call that fake news. Upon investigation, it turns out that not to be true. But news isn't just about what's true. News is about what appears to have happened and what is reported. When they sit there and they say, this person said this happened, that's not fake news. That's accurately reporting that somebody said something. Upon investigation, when it turns out to not be true, then you correct that in the news. And you say, we believe this to have happened, but it doesn't appear to have happened. We don't have enough evidence to support that. the person making this claim lied or was incorrect. Now, I get it. In the 50s and 60s, we had time to do this investigation because news was only on once a day. 6 o'clock, well, 6 and 11, but, you know, I mean, that was... You didn't have the 24/7 news cycle. And there wasn't competition to get the story out first. Not only does CNN and Fox and MSNBC have to fight with each other about who gets a story out first, they're fighting with Twitter. 140 characters. Independent media. Independent media is... Which, I'm going to do another video on independent media and the mainstream media and the comparisons. But you're more likely to see crap stories come out of the independent media than you are out of the mainstream media. Mainstream media may push an ideological agenda, but it's spin. And you can see through the spin when you look at stories. Independent media is Alex Jones. Remember, Prison Planet is independent media. Rush Limbaugh anymore is independent media. Jim Baker and his show, technically because he claims to report on stuff, the 700 Club would fall under the auspices of independent media now. Mainstream media news reporting, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, they're still better than some, I would even say most, independent news media. When we look at shows like the David Pakman Show, or we look at the Young Turks, or we look at Secular Talk, the 3 shows that I have subscribed to or watched at one time. I don't have anything much to do with the Young Turks anymore, but I'm not subbed. The only stuff I watch is when somebody else posts something saying, "Oh, look at how stupid they were." But the shows like that are not, even the Philip DeFranco show, they're not reporting news. That's not what they're there for. They're there to comment on the news. A lot of independent media is commenting on news. Here's something that happened. Here's what we think of it. You want something that's not that, go to the AP, go to Reuters, where you get a 3-second blurb, 6 lines, half a paragraph about something that happened, and then run with it. That's news reporting. Just the facts, man. And that's it. So, thanks everyone for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Tell me what you think about fake news and what is not fake news. And what makes you mad about it. Or doesn't make you mad about it. What is entertaining. People think they can tell what fake news is by reading things. Most people believe they are not swayed by fake news. But when asked to identify fake news stories, a lot of them got it wrong. A recent study carried out by Stanford's Graduate School of Education assesses more than 7,800 responses from middle school, high school, and college students in 12 U.S. states and their ability to assess information sources. Researchers were shocked by students' stunning and dismaying consistency to value information, even at basic level, as distinguishing advertisements from articles. If you think you, as an adult with an internet connection, are better placed than middle school students to assess sources, this collection of comments and a literally unbelievable humor stories are humbling. So says from an article in The Guardian. So that's it. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye and hello. As always.
If it doesn't,